Last week on this program, we gave the first national television attention to a protest demonstration at the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation in North Dakota. Thousands of Native Americans have been camping on the banks of the Cannonball River there, trying to stop or reroute the construction of an oil pipeline approved by the federal government. The pipeline will be built underground and go under the Missouri River, and so the tortured relationship between the Sioux Nation and the federal government continues. The federal government signed treaties with the Sioux in 1851 and 1868 that the federal government then violated, as the federal government violated all of its treaties with Native American tribes. Whenever you wonder why the United States government doesn't have more trust around the world, one reason is that the world has been watching. The world has been watching for hundreds of years, watching how we have treated the people who were here long before us, the people who now risk the chance of being arrested for trespassing on land that for centuries they have treated as sacred ground. Joining us now, Dave Archambault II. He's the chairman of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe. Chairman Archambault, thank you very much for joining us by Skype from North Dakota. I really appreciate your taking the time. Tell us how it came to this, given that within the federal government there was some resistance to this pipeline by the Obama administration, Environmental Protection Agency, and others, but the Army Corps of Engineers, in the end, had the approval authority of this, and they approved it.
Lawrence, before I say anything, I just want to thank you for your words in last week's piece. If you ever come to Standing Rock, I want to honor you for recognizing the disparities that have gone on for hundreds and hundreds of years. The reason why this is an issue for us is because why it came to this. We've been talking about the disparities and the wrongs of this particular pipeline for 2 years, ever since we learned about it. We've been asking for meaningful consultation with the Corps of Engineers, with the company, saying, you need to take a look at where you're putting this pipeline and let us have a say, let us take a look, and let us comment whether or not this is a safe place for it. We approached the Army Corps of Engineers year after year, and that fell on deaf ears. They say they want to hear us, they say they want to acknowledge that we are there, but it's just a check in a box. I believe that this pipeline and the process for pipelines is so simple, it's rubber stamp. As soon as a corporation that wants to do something, the federal government seems to back them, and it always is on the backs of Native Americans.
This pipeline has already been rerouted once. Wasn't there an original plan that went in a different direction?
You're right. The governor of North Dakota claims that there's very, very little chance of the environment at risk. There's very, very little chance that water is at risk. But yet, when the pipeline was proposed to go north of Bismarck, the capital of Bismarck, where the governor's house is, they reroute it because they're concerned of safe drinking water. That doesn't make sense. We've been saying the same thing over and over, but it falls on deaf ears.
Bernie Sanders last week came out in support of you. Have you heard anything from the presidential candidates about this?
This needs to be a topic for both presidents, and that will really tell America what kind of candidates are out there, what kind of leadership is coming into office, and that should determine who they would vote for. If our candidates are driven by greed and money, then they don't belong in office, because it's a risk to the environment, it's a risk to future generations, it's a risk to children who are not here yet.
And the federal judge is going to make a decision on how this will proceed next month. If the decision goes against you, what do you expect to do?
We'll explore all of our legal options. We'll look at, of course, we'll appeal, and there's more than just the injunction that we filed. We just want to make sure that every nation has an opportunity to be consulted in a meaningful way with the federal government or with corporate, so that we can be heard.
Chairman Archambault, thank you very much for joining us tonight. A real honor to have you here on the program. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.